There's a rule that applies to special schools only, and it's that students must complete their education in the year that they turn 18. So I wasn't aware of this until I was contacted by parents of a young lad who's 17 at the moment. He's in a special school. He did attend a mainstream primary school for up till he was 12, 13, whatever. But he had been diagnosed with moderate to severe autism, and it was felt that his education needs would be better served in a special school. So he started a special school in September of 2021. And then it was just this year when he went back to school, when he turned 17, that he was informed, or his parents were informed, that this would be his final year in the school. So they were quite taken aback and quite surprised, because they thought he would have had another year. So, like I was saying, if he had stayed in mainstream, he could have had 6 years of education in the mainstream school. Most students now do TY, or have the option of doing TY. And most students now are indeed 19 before they actually finish school, or are approaching 19. He will be 17 now when he finishes school in June. He'll be turning 18 during the summer. And they just feel it's a little bit too young for him, and as I said, they were surprised by this. They have appealed it through the school principal, but that appeal won't be heard until March or April. And they just feel that the time is too long. So they have this uncertainty hanging over them from they received the letter in September until March or April of this year. And with a young person who is autistic, routine is vital, and planning for any change is also vital. And they have been unable to really do that with him, because they don't want him to prepare for leaving school and going on to something else, because hopefully he will get the year, which is their choice, in the school. But as I said, that they have done some preparation, but they don't want to go into too much preparation in case that doesn't happen. So I'm just wondering why this is the situation. I said most children now are 5 when they start school. They do 8 years in primary school and 6 in secondary school. So they're 19 or approaching 19 when they leave school. It seems a little bit unfair that children in a special school setting are told that they must complete their education in the year that they turn 18. And I'm just wondering why this anomaly exists, and if it could be addressed to allow it to at least until they're 19. Or I know there is an appeal situation, but as I said, I think that appeal takes too long and is too late in the year for many of the students. I'm not sure how many this affects. I'm sure there's not a huge number, but I'm sure it wouldn't be a big issue either to change it so to allow students to stay in school until they're 19. As I said, when I was teaching, I taught in a mainstream school, but there were many students there with additional educational needs, and one student actually celebrated her 21st birthday while in the school, and there was no issue. She'd obviously repeated school years in primary school, so which left her that little bit older, but there was no issue with it. There was no rule that saying she had to leave at the age of 18 or the age of 19, etc. So I just feel the same should apply to special schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Enabling students with special education needs to receive an education that meets their needs is a priority for the Government. It's also a key priority for the Minister, the Department and the National Council for Special Education. The NCSE is the statutory body responsible for the provision of special education and allocating supports for students with special education needs. Special schools funded by my department are classified as primary national schools. They are intended in accordance with the provision of Rule 64(1) of the Rules for National Schools to provide an education to children and young people with special education needs aged from 4 years until the end of the school year in which they reach their 18th year. Special schools may, however, seek approval from my department for an exemption from the rule in respect of students over 18 who are pursuing learning programmes leading to accreditation, which aligns with the National Qualifications Framework. The programmes include, for example, Junior Cycle Level 3 subjects, Level 1 and Level 2 learning programmes, Leaving Cert Applied, and Senior Cycle Level 1 and Level 2. Requests for exemption can only be made by a school where, in addition to the above, the student requires 1 additional year in order to complete a programme leading to accreditation on the NQF. Retaining the student in the school for another year will not prevent a younger student being enrolled there. That's obviously a consideration. And plans are in place to transition the student to a post-school setting at the end of the school year. Special schools are invited each year to make applications to my department for exemptions from Rule 64(1) in respect of students who meet the above criteria. Where the criteria are met, the department will approve the exemptions. And where the issue has been raised in the context of the review of the EPSON Act, the department is progressing the development of an implementation plan arising from this review. Furthermore, under the first programme Plan of Actions 25 to 26, the National Human Rights Strategy for Disabled People 2025 to 2030, the department has joint responsibility for a number of priority actions, including a commitment to develop a national transitions policy to support students from early learning and childcare through school and into adult life. A cross-departmental steering group co-chaired by the Department of Children, Disability and Equality and the Department of Further Higher Education, Research, Innovation and Science and the Department of Education and Youth has been established to oversee the implementation of this priority action. A key action under this commitment is to support earlier transition planning for school leavers and their families, so that enhanced guidance and information can be provided to young people and their families on all post-school options such as apprenticeships, employment and further and higher education.
Okay, thank you, Minister, for your response here. Yeah, I suppose, look, it still doesn't deal with the point that, you know, students are treated differently in a special school setting than they are in a mainstream school setting. I suppose also I would say that the notice that this family was given was very poor. They were not aware of this rule, and I think all parents should be made aware of the rule much earlier than just going into the final year of their school, and then to be left, as I said, in a state of limbo where they're not sure whether their son will stay in the school for another year or whether we'll have to transition. I know it's pointed out here the different post-school options that students may take, and I suppose it's good to see that those are being considered for students in special schools. Too long we had students in special schools leaving without any sort of a qualification and nothing more expected of them than to go into a day service of some description. Many students are much more capable of going on and progressing in different courses, and we need to make sure we're availing of, or making sure that they can avail of different options open to them. But again, I just feel the appeals and the notice and the appeals and the rule itself all need to be looked at and addressed. I just feel it's unfair in this instance. Thank you.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think the Senator raises a good point, and I think in response, clearly there are rules there, and there's an exemption process, and I suppose it's transparent as well, and people can apply for an exemption, and that's very clearly set out. But I think the very important point that the government acknowledges is that we do need more transition information available to people, and particularly at an earlier time. And I think that's something that has to happen. But there is a process for exemption from the rules, and look, I suppose it's up to the individual. In terms of the individual case, I'm sure you'll be there to assist them to navigate that process. But let's see what happens. But certainly people need information at an earlier stage.
And while we're grateful for Minister Byrne being with us this morning, I do think it's out of courtesy. I think the Department should inform the Senator if the line Minister isn't going to take the question.